It's diplomacy, but not as we know it. This is Donald Trump's Board of Peace. In a building now bearing his name, they posed with the president.
Does everybody like the music?
Yeah, it's a perfect song.
That's good music.
It's an eclectic panel of men, mostly the world's strong men. Canada's invitation was revoked. The UK, France and Germany politely declined.
Almost everybody's accepted, and the ones that haven't will be. Some are playing a little cute. It doesn't work. You can't play cute with me.
Some weren't sure about the freebies. Others were delighted to find themselves seated at this table.
Virtually everyone is the head of a country other than Johnny, but he's the head of soccer, so that's not so bad, right, Johnny?
This body is part of the US peace plan for Gaza, set up to oversee reconstruction.
The war in Gaza is over. It's over. There are little flames.
But the Board of Peace met amid talk of war. Intense speculation that a US strike on Iran could be imminent.
Iran is a hot spot right now. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
Some fear this Trump-led board will undermine the United Nations.
The Board of Peace is going to almost be looking over the United Nations, making sure it runs properly.
But former Prime Minister Tony Blair is participating in a personal capacity.
For decades, Gaza's governance has been characterized by extremism, corruption, ineffective institutions, and the complete absence of a route to prosperity for the Gazan people. Yet, as President Trump recognized, its potential has always been vast.
The meeting culminated with FIFA pledging to help raise $75 billion for football pitches in Gaza.
There is one language that still unites hearts: football.
The whole thing lasted 3 hours. Dozens invited to speak.
Qatar pledges $1 billion.
The UAE announces a further $1.2 billion.
Our commitment to contribute significant number of troops.
Egypt will continue its effort to train Palestinian police.
But President Trump had better get used to it. He has appointed himself chairman for life.
This is the logo to the Board of Peace. It looks a lot like the United Nations logo, except that it's gold, and it has the United States at the center rather than showing the whole world. And this really tells us a lot about President Trump's approach to foreign policy. The Board of Peace started out last fall as an international entity that was supposed to oversee the implementation of the Gaza peace deal. And then over the last couple of months, it became clear that the administration's ambitions for it were much greater. Officials in the Trump administration have been very direct in saying that they're doing this because, in their view, the UN doesn't work.
I'm a big fan of the UN potential, but it has never lived up to its potential.
We've seen around 20 countries say they will join the Board of Peace. Countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Hungary, Belarus, Indonesia, countries that are looking for more influence here in Washington. Countries can pay $1 billion into the organization in order to secure permanent membership. And that, of course, reflects the money talks kind of approach of this administration, that foreign policy is not about values, it's about deals. It's also notable who hasn't joined and why. We've seen almost no NATO allies of the US join. They see it essentially as an illegitimate rival to the United Nations. This Board of Peace initiative also really shows us how President Trump is determined to put himself rather than institutions at the center. In the charter of the Board of Peace, he is named as the inaugural chairman. He is the one who can invite members, designate his successor, veto decisions, and even dissolve the board entirely. And perhaps most remarkably, Trump can stay chairman even after his presidency ends. The Board of Peace is really turning out to be a test of how much Trump really can reshape the world order in his image.
We are not taking this Board of Peace seriously enough. I just did a deep dive, and my God, please stay with me on this one. It's a little like how we reacted to Space Force before we knew it was permanent, except this one is on a whole different level. So the board consists of 6 members, including a chairman for life, which is, of course, Donald Trump, and 5 other board members, which are Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Tony Blair, Mark Rowan, who runs Apollo Global Management, and Steve Witkoff. It's supposed to be what they're calling a private sector-led alternative to the United Nations. The board is set up as a private treasury model, much like the UN and the World Bank. Now, the chairman for life, Donald Trump, has exclusive authority to create, modify, or dissolve subsidiary entities and approve all administrative directives, so full control over everything. If this was a U.S. corporation, this setup would be illegal, but it gets a whole lot worse. One of the first executive orders that Trump signed on January 16th of 2025 was Executive Order 14275. This designates the Board of Peace as a public international organization. This gives the board and the funds that it holds the same legal privileges, tax exemptions, and immunities as the UN, completely shielded from judicial oversight and seizure by federal courts, if we were to actually try and have accountability someday. Membership on the board is really simple. Pay to play, $1 billion. And so far, the countries that have contributed are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Morocco, Bahrain, Uzbekistan, and Kuwait. And it was just announced today that you, the American taxpayer, is going to be contributing $10 billion to a fund exclusively controlled by Donald Trump, even if he's not president anymore. Now, here's where things start to get pretty scary. The first area is with crypto. Thanks to the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, or the Genius Act, passed by Congress, the Board of Peace is designed to utilize stablecoin infrastructure. And Trump's own crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, is the primary vehicle. And the UAE bought 49% of World Liberty Financial 4 days before Trump was inaugurated. And a significant portion of the $17 billion that's already been contributed is being converted into USD1, Trump's stablecoin. And not only that, but the board can actually mint USD1 against US treasuries. And so they can spend funds without it ever even touching a traditional bank. And of course, the first place they're looking to do this is Gaza. They're calling it a Gaza relief package. But what it is an investment fund to build 200 hotels and 400,000 new homes in Gaza, completing the genocide. Now, the last part is probably something Scott Jennings would say gets my knickers in a twist. The fund has its own paramilitary force called the International Stabilization Force, or ISF. It's commanded by U.S. Major General Jasper Jeffries III, and it already has pledges of 20,000 soldiers and 12,000 police officers, mostly coming from Indonesia, Egypt, and Jordan. And to go back to Gaza, there are already plans to build a 5,000-person military base over 350 acres in Gaza. So even if we were to succeed in getting Trump out of there, he can sit around as chairman of the Board of Peace with full diplomatic immunity, a shit ton of funds, and his own army. Let that sink in.